Los Angeles, which is usually a city full of lights, that night was instead filled with shadows of worry. Not because of Hollywood stars, nor the hustle and bustle of the entertainment industry, but because of one piece of news that shook the hearts of BTS fans around the world. That news came so suddenly from Taehyung's own mouth about Jin's condition. And what made it even more shocking was Jungkook's reaction, who was seen holding back tears and eventually unable to hide his sadness. It all began at a private event attended only by a handful of important people, where Taehyung was scheduled to attend to discuss his music project in America. No one expected that, in the middle of a casual conversation with some acquaintances, Taehyung would suddenly mention Jin's name with a different tone, heavy, restrained, and as if carrying a burden. He did not deliver a long explanation, only a few short sentences, but enough to make the room fall silent. "He's fighting," Taehyung said softly, which then made everyone look at each other. That word, fighting, was like opening the gate to 1,000 questions. Was Jin sick? Was there an incident during the tour? Or was there a problem that had been kept tightly closed by management? In the corner of the room, Jungkook, who was then talking with a business associate, was seen immediately stopping the conversation. His face turned pale, his eyes fixed on Taehyung. Then he looked away. He lowered his head, gripping his phone tightly, and a few seconds later appeared to wipe the corner of his eyes. A fan's camera, which happened to be close enough, recorded that moment, and it didn't take long for the video to spread on social media. Speculation exploded. ARMY all over the world began to talk about this, wondering what was really happening. Moreover, Jin was scheduled to arrive in Los Angeles only a few hours after the statement came out. Some fans felt this was a sign that Jin was experiencing severe exhaustion after his long tour. However, there were also those who suspected that this problem had been there for a long time and had only just been revealed by accident. When the plane carrying Jin landed, dozens of cameras and fans were already waiting at the airport. Jin came out with the smile he always showed, waving his hand, but his movements felt slower than usual. His steps were careful, as if his body needed extra effort to stay upright. Some fans who observed closely even claimed to see Jin holding his breath at certain moments. That night, the situation became even more heated. The media began contacting HYB for confirmation, but as usual, the agency chose not to comment. This silence only fueled the fire of speculation. Some said Jin was experiencing serious health issues, while others accused the management of deliberately hiding information to protect their image. In the midst of all this, Jungkook finally appeared in a brief live broadcast on a social media platform. There was no announcement, no preparation, just a dark screen that then showed his tired-looking face. He didn't mention Jin's name directly, but the sentences that came out of his mouth made fans even more emotional. "Sometimes we don't know how hard someone is fighting until we see it ourselves," Jungkook said, his voice hoarse. "All we can do is give them strength, even from afar." That brief statement brought thousands of comments flooding his live broadcast. Many admitted they cried, and many also demanded clarity from the official side. But Jungkook did not continue the conversation. He only ended the broadcast with a thin smile, then said, "Please support him." For those who have followed BTS from the beginning, this moment felt different. There was sincerity and a sense of worry that was hard to hide. And behind it all, there was a great mystery that remained unanswered. What exactly happened to Jin in Los Angeles? Why did Taehyung look shocked, as if he had just learned something he never expected? And why did Jungkook cry? Until now, the public can only guess. Is this the beginning of a big announcement that will change BTS's journey? Or is it just a small piece of a bigger story, which will be revealed at the right time? One thing is certain, the eyes and hearts of ARMY are now fixed on those three figures, waiting for answers that no one knows when will come. The longer the silence from HYB and the members continued, the more restless the fans became. Every post on social media, every airport photo, and even the smallest body language from Jin, Taehyung, and Jungkook became material for endless analysis. ARMY from different countries began to connect dots, linking Taehyung's sudden statement, Jungkook's tearful reaction, and Jin's unusual demeanor into one complicated puzzle, some international media outlets started running headlines, suggesting that this could be one of the most emotional moments in BTS's history. BTS faces hidden struggles? One outlet wrote, while another boldly claimed, something is happening behind the scenes in Los Angeles. The weight of global attention was now pressing heavily on the three members, especially Jeon, who had yet to speak publicly. Rumors even circulated that there might be a private meeting between the members in Los Angeles, away from the cameras, to discuss an important matter. Whether it is about Jin's health group schedules or a personal decision, no one knows for sure. For now, the truth remains locked behind closed doors, leaving fans around the world in a state of emotional suspense, holding on to hope that their beloved Jeon will emerge safe and strong. Along with the rapid flow of information on social media, the news about Taehyung did not expect Jeon to experience this. Jungkook cried has grown into a major narrative that has drawn the attention of millions of people around the world. Short videos, snippets of words, and facial expressions caught on camera have triggered an emotional wave that is hard to contain. However, behind all the commotion, it is important to place each event in the correct context, so as not to create misunderstandings that could harm all parties, especially the BTS members who are the subject of the news. Based on further investigation, Taehyung's statement that became the initial source of this issue did not actually refer to Jin's deteriorating health. Several eyewitnesses present at the event explained that the words, "he is fighting," spoken by Taehyung were actually referring to Jin's struggle to complete a series of music projects amid a very tight schedule. In that context, Taehyung was in fact praising Jin's work ethic and dedication, not implying that Jeon was experiencing a serious health problem. The confusion occurred because the video clip circulating on social media was uploaded without the full context. The beginning part of the conversation that explained the actual topic was removed, so the public only received a fragment of the statement that made it seem mysterious and prone to misinterpretation. This was made worse by the framing in several large fanbase accounts that gave sensational titles without verifying the truth of the video's content. Meanwhile, Jungkook's reaction that looked emotional and seemed to hold back tears also has a different explanation. Internal sources stated that at that time Jungkook had just received personal news unrelated to Jeon. Coincidentally, the moment was captured at the same time as Taehyung's statement, thus creating the assumption that the two were connected. This reality shows how easily public interpretation can deviate when two different events are combined into a single narrative. When Jeon arrived in Los Angeles, his appearance, which was considered slower and holding his breath, also turned out to have nothing to do with the health issue. In a brief interview with the staff who accompanied him, it was explained that Jeon had just taken a long flight of more than 10 hours, so it was natural if his steps were slightly heavy due to jet lag. He was also wearing fairly thick clothing, which made his movements less free than usual. All of this was purely technical factors, but in the eyes of fans already influenced by rumors, these small details became evidence that supported their suspicions. HYB itself finally provided a brief clarification a few days after this issue exploded. In its statement, the agency stressed that Jeon was in good health and was not facing any health problems that interfered with his activities. They also asked the public not to spread or believe information that had not been verified, considering that its impact could be very large on the comfort and privacy of the artist concerned. Although brief, this statement was enough to dampen most of the speculation, although some fans still felt curious because human nature tends to want to know more than is explained officially. An important lesson to be learned from this incident is how quickly information, especially in the form of visual snippets and emotional narratives, can shape public opinion. In this case, three elements, Taehyung's snippet, Jungkook's expression, and Jin's appearance, were combined into a dramatic story that did not actually match reality. In the global entertainment world full of spotlight, every celebrity's gesture is always open to interpretation, but that is exactly why caution is important in receiving and spreading news. We also saw how social media can amplify an issue without providing enough space for clarification. On the other hand, loyal fandoms like ARMY have the power to change the narrative when credible clarification emerges. Once the truth was revealed, many fans began re-uploading the original video with complete context, helping to stop the spread of inaccurate news. This step became a positive example of how fan communities can play a role in protecting their idol's reputation. In the end, the issue. Taehyung did not expect Jeon to experience this. Jungkook cried, is a reflection of the dynamics of information in the digital era. Fast, emotional, and prone to misinterpretation. The truth is far simpler than the story that spread. There was no sudden health crisis, no major internal drama, only human moments that happened close together and then framed in a way that sparked curiosity. For Taehyung, Jungkook, and Jeon, this event may just be one of many episodes where their personal lives become public consumption without filters. However, for the public, it can be a reminder that not everything that looks dramatic on the surface actually has a dramatic background. Facts are often calmer than rumors, and clarification that comes later can instantly overturn perceptions. Now, Jeon continues his activities in Los Angeles as planned. Taehyung returns to focus on his music project, and Jungkook continues his brand endorsement agenda. Life goes on, and fans are expected to support them with positive energy instead of getting stuck in a narrative that is not entirely true. In the end, although this story once triggered tears and worry, the truth brings relief. BTS remains together, healthy, and moving forward, no matter what happens.